Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's session. My name is Iskia, and I'm one of the event planners for the Redmond Reactor space. Before we get started today, I've got a few things to go over, so if you could please take a moment to read our code of conduct. And basically what that's saying is that we seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. We definitely encourage engagement in the chat, but we ask that you please be mindful of your commentary, try to remain professional, and if possible, try to remain on topic. We're going to be sharing useful links throughout the chat, so keep an eye out for that. And just to let you know, this session will be recorded and will be available on the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel within 24 to 48 hours, which brings us to today's session. It is scheduled to run approximately 1 hour with time for questions at the end. So with that said, I will hand it over to our speaker and we'll get this started.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gabriela de Queiroz, and I'm a director of AI here in the beautiful San Francisco. Today, I'm excited to be talking to the founder of the AI startup, Activeloop. But before we kick off this conversation, I want to invite you to join bi-weekly here in the same channel live on Thursdays. And I'll be chatting with founders from top AI startups doing innovative work. We'll talk about their company, their products, their technology behind, the use cases, customer stories, and of course, how Microsoft has been helping them in their journey. During the conversation, you can ask questions in the chat, and I'll be selecting some of them to be answered live. But before we start, let me share the amazing program that we have here at Microsoft for Startups. We offer startups, no matter where you are in the journey, up to $150,000 in Azure credits that can be used in our latest products or different Gen AI models like the models from OpenAI and a lot of other models. You also get access for free to 30 plus tools and services to help you start to help your startup grow and scale. And on top of that, one of my favorite benefits is that you get free one-on-one sessions with Microsoft experts to work through technical and business challenges that you might have. So don't forget to go to this QR code or this link and get all these benefits that I just mentioned to you. And today, I am very excited to have Davit from Activeloop, where we are going to be talking a lot about great technology, AI databases, open source, what they are doing, some customer stories, and I'm very excited. So, Davit, welcome to the show.
Gabriela, super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So I want to start with the two of us talking about a little bit about your career path. Like, you are the founder of Activeloop. So if you can guide us through your background and how this led you to found the company Activeloop.
Yeah, sure. Happy to give kind of a brief background about myself, and then we can deep dive on various questions that will relate to the audience. Before starting the company, I was doing a PhD at Princeton, dealing with a really large amount of data. I think it was getting up to petabyte scale. And what we were trying to do is to reconstruct the connectivity of neurons inside the brain to understand how the brain works. And more specifically, like understand what are more biologically inspired algorithms that are happening inside our brain to do the learning process. And apparently they are totally different how these more cutting edge recent language models are trained on, including deep learning. And the question is, can we come up with much more efficient learning algorithms? And while we were doing that and dealing with this amount of data, like the computational cost of running at scale was costing a lot of compute costs. I think I saw that startups get 150,000 credits. Like, that was not enough for us. Like, the order of computational cost was getting to the millions of dollars. And our goal was to reduce the cost by rethinking how the data should be stored, how it should be moved from the storage to the computing machines, should we use CPUs, GPUs, and what kind of models to use. And that inspired to start the company. Actually, we were in NeurIPS in 2017 when this famous paper called Attention is All You Need got published. And we saw all the attention it got. at the conference. So it was pretty clear that something is happening. And that like led to like, hey, sooner or later AI is going to take over, and we will need to contribute and be part of this journey on the positive front. Maybe before that as well, I did my undergrad in UK, and then I'm originally from Armenia. I started training recurrent neural networks like in 2014, and when I think AlexNet was out in 2012, and like that whole deep learning revolution started about 12 years ago. So yeah, that's just a very brief background about myself.
Wow, yeah, and for the audience that is watching us, that's the paper that changed everything. Like there is probably like we can say that there was a before this paper and after this paper, and especially like I would say around the expansion of like how you can train models, because before it was everything was very you had one model for a specific task. It was not a way to generalize as well. So it's a great paper. If you have a chance to take a look, I'll probably share the link on the chat so people can remind them to read again, remember them. And so then you started the company Activeloop. So that was a few years ago, like 2 years ago, more or less.
It was in 2018, so about 6 years ago.
Oh, 6 years. Okay, right after the conference. So it was like, okay, we need to do something. Yeah.
It's like we had this idea of like running the computation 10 times cheaper and more cost efficient. We said, okay, how about we just apply to Y Combinator? And the deadline was like almost approaching. In the last minute and last day, we actually like, okay, let's just shoot a video and send it to that. We had no any expectations. We sent the video, and then after I think a week or two, we got an email saying, hey, we will have to do a press screening interview. So usually at that time, YC was inviting to Mountain View to have an in-person interviews, but with us they decided to do a call before like seeing if this is serious or not. So then we had the call with Aaron, and things looked positive. They followed up as like, hey, we want to see you in person in California. So we flew from New Jersey to Mountain View first time, and to come to this interview, and we were like super excited, and we were like, let's see how the interview will go. And usually like it just takes 15 minutes. In our case, they also brought in at that time our competitors, and they did like not just one interview. I think we went 3 rounds of interviews before they made a decision if they will accept us or not. And we were like prepared all the different questions, like me and my co-founders, aside from one question. And that question is, what did you guys figure out that nobody else figured out? And that was like, that took us in a surprise. And me and my other co-founder, Sergey, like couldn't respond. And then our third co-founder, like very calmly, very like confidently said, hey, we figured out how to run neural network inference and crypto mining at the same time on a GPU much more efficiently than anyone else can do. And we were even surprised, like, did we figure this out? And the partners as well looked into us and like, hey, are you like really like, this is like super awesome. Like, can you send us the benchmarks? And we did a kindergarten excuse. Yeah, the benchmarks, the computers are at home. Like we will need just to quickly go and drive and get this. And they're like, sure, we will wait for it. So we took the car and the Uber and went back to Airbnb and started like coding. And we were like, how could you say this? Like, we haven't figured this out. We were like lying in the interview stage. This is like a very bad start. And then apparently it's like, guys, don't worry, we'll figure it out. And apparently this was the case. So he showed on the benchmarks, and it created the benchmarks, run the execution, show that this is like totally possible on the current GPUs to run these 2 types of different computations because they use different parts of the GPU. And we were like, oh, wow, this is amazing. Looks like there's like on the spot when you ask a question, your subconsciousness answers this question instantly. And and then we got an email. So in Y Combinator, if you get an email, you're rejected. If you get a phone call, you're accepted. And at the same time, I'm not exaggerating, at the same time we got the like benchmarks working, I got an email from Y Combinator. I didn't even open it. It's like, okay, guys, we did a good job. We looks like got rejected. That's it. And then I opened the email. It says, hey, we can't reach you out. Please call us back. So apparently that Airbnb we were taking, there was no cellular connection. We got out, and then like called. It's like, they're like, we got the benchmarks. They're like, you are in. And I'm about like, how about the benchmarks? Like nobody cares about the benchmarks. So that's how we got into YC, I think 2018 April. And we thought this is an internship to come and go back to our PhDs. And apparently for me, didn't end up internship. I took a leave of absence and unfortunately then dropped from my PhD.
Oh, wow. That's an amazing story. And I'm so glad that I'm doing this show because the stories like yours, like I did a lot of research on you and the company, but like the story that you are telling me, I don't think it's anywhere. And again, Y Combinator is the top accelerator in the world. All the main, probably the main unicorns went through YC and then became the companies that they are right now. There are great examples, and it's very hard to get in. It's another thing to like they get a lot of applications every cohort. It's very competitive, and it's just like amazing story. I can't imagine like you coming to Mountain View to like Bay Area and then doing all of this and then got accepted. And now what? Right now we have to go through this program. Very amazing. So let's dive into like the Activeloop company itself. Like, tell me a little bit about the story. So you went through the YC. You probably had like a proof of concept and then MVP. So you got out of YC. What came next?
Yeah, totally. So YC is like, hey guys, you have this POC, you have no customers. We at that time like early design partners. Like you have to launch as soon as possible. So we launched it on Hacker News and posted a big blog post on the actually this like mini innovation that we figured out, and we got a lot of attention, a lot of data scientists and users coming to our platform and using the system. But then later we realized that the enterprises will not trust this data, like the state. And one of the key things is like moving the data to those computational, like it will not, like you have a lot of big trust issues. And then we met partners at YC, and then the like biggest advice was like, hey guys, just move to be on top of the cloud providers and build a service that could actually solve a customer pain point. And our first customer in 2018 was a small Palo Alto tech, a legal tech company, who was training large language model. Like they asked us to train a large language model for them to build AI search. They wanted to run search on across all the patents to assist the patent attorneys with finding the right patent when they draft them or when they search for conflict. And they looked at us as like, guys, can you just train a language model like in 2 weeks? And we were like, sure, Wiki, we'll do everything. And we signed the paper on the contract, and we went back, okay, how are we going to ship this? So at that time, the LLMs, like the transformers, like the bird just got out, like this early days of transfers 1 year after exactly. And we're like, okay, sure, let's throw a bunch of GPUs on it. We used like about 100 GPUs. At that time was a big number. Now it's like a very tiny number to run at scale. And the only thing that we did was very funny. We took so we had a lot of credits thanks to YC from the cloud providers. And we said, okay, just pay us the cash and we'll use these credits to run the GPU. So we swapped the credits with the real cash to be able to do this work. And we were like super happy, but for the customer, it was a very good deal to get up and running. And they were like, yeah, this is awesome. We're going to retrain this language model with you every month. But apparently they never retrained the model because it was good enough and they got acquired. So I think that was a big lesson for us, is then we realized that these LLMs, they're going to be a very big thing in future. And more specifically, we'll need a lot of GPU compute resources to be able to train those models. And it's a very hard thing to do for a small startup. I think what OpenAI since then did it is like an awesome execution. And we were like, okay, in that future where you're going to have the AI models taking over, what's going to miss? And the biggest part was not taking care of anything is the database area. Like how are we going to store the unstructured data? How are we going to structure it? How are we going to connect this to the AI models? And then how are they going to do the reasoning on top? So that whole layer was totally missing. And we said, why? How about like you have all these awesome databases, data warehouses, data lakes, lake houses now. What we can do? And we were like, okay, how about we go and build the database for AI to be able to enable these future use cases? And we put Deep Lake, which is our open source data lake for AI multimodal on GitHub. It got like very quickly number 2 trending across all GitHub repositories, number 1 in Python languages. This was 2021. We built a community of about 2,000 data scientists and data engineers. And then I think that's where like we released the enterprise version, started onboarding small companies, slightly large, and then that's when ChatGPT hit. Before that, we were telling the customers, like, hey, we are building a database for AI. And they were like, why do I need another database? Like, I have so many databases. Like, why?
And was that like because of like the amount of unstructured data? Because until then, like we had the majority of the companies and the data was structured, but then everything was moving towards more like unstructured data, like audio, video, image, and so on, right?
Exactly. And like the thing is that even if they had the data, they didn't know how to process it. Right. So thanks to the advancements on deep learning front, the models became so good they could have a same perception level as the humans do. And now you can extract business valuable insights from videos. Like the best example is TikTok's recommendation algorithm. That's what hit TikTok and made it famous and made it viral. I know there's a lot of controversy that's happening now on this topic, but that's also thanks to deep learning processing that made the models to understand so good the videos, they can start recommending them to the users. And and then ChatGPT hit. I think that was another interesting event happened at NeurIPS as well. NeurIPS is one of the most top AI conferences where a lot of academics publish their papers. And in a day, and I'm not exaggerating, our downloads like 10x. Now people moved from, why do I need a database for AI? Oh, I need a database for AI. There's like vector databases. There are now like all the vector search features that got into across all the database companies. And that's where he thinks it's really fun. In the last 2 years, looked like 10 years of progress that have happened so far.
Amazing. And do you have like a demo or some slides that you can walk us through about the company and the Deep Lake? Again, it's an open source project that is still going as an open source, but then you have the enterprise layer as well. Can you share with us a little bit about the demo and maybe give a little bit more deep dive into the AI search?
Yes, so I'll do a very quick deep dive. I won't bore everyone with a bunch of slides, but I think when we work with especially Fortune 500 and really large customers, when we start working with them, even today, they have so many data silos. The data sitting in many different data storages, in your own different even cloud providers and object storages. And now you also have a third type of a tool to be able to index this data and make it searchable. And this issue is becoming more and more, even though every new data layer says hey, I'm going to unify everything. And then what we figured out is we can actually combine these 3 different ways of storing the data and making it seamless and optimized for AI language models and deep learning models to be able to stream them as if you are watching a Netflix, to pre-processing, indexing, and search use cases. But there's way more. I was talking to, and thanks also to with Microsoft introduction, talking to one of the biggest life science companies manufacturing drugs, and one of the challenges they had is hey, there's a very simple question. I asked 3 of my different reporters from different departments, from manufacturing, from marketing, from sales, is what was our revenue last 3 months? And answering that simple question, where the data is residing in 3 different or maybe even 10 plus tables, combining those tables, which is you might think of it as an easy task, but also being able to reconcile the contradictions in the data. Maybe someone missed in information, maybe someone modified the data itself, and then giving you a single answer, it's impossible even today. So that's why all these large organizations, they have to have this big business units that serve to analysts to be able to create the dashboards, run SQL queries on different data sets, and then bring this data, maybe connect to the unstructured data, which hasn't been possible before, the bunch of PDFs, images, video, audio that you have been storing at your company organization for order of tens, if not hundreds of years, this big Like they're like all the insurance companies or life science companies. They have collected so many experiments, and they're like unused in archives and staying. Then imagine like how much power and intelligence you could use if you can connect this to everyday decision making. And we said, how about like also that you have on the other side the AI models that are getting better, but they're still hallucinating. There's also a lot of issues like how can these models talk at the expert level with the same information gatherness, like and also deployed on your own cloud, on your own, let's say Microsoft Azure environment, connecting to your own OpenAI language models or your own providers, and make sure that this is like enterprise grade level with the compliance and plus permissions and access. And that's what inspired us to step ahead and come up with the next generation of the product, which is kind of very much simpler than a database play, which I'll do a quick demo on it. Let's see. So here, I think that this is a very quick demo on what we are doing. Is we're connecting two different data sets from two cloud providers. One is this OpenAlex data set that has about 130 million all scientific articles published, and another data set on Azure where we have like 1 million about radiology images. And there's a question we want to ask: can you summarize the breakthroughs in brain edema research? So this is a fairly simple question. You can ask this to Google, Perplexity, and other search engines. And then, but the main difference, what we do here is that we generate an answer, we have the citations, we look across the papers. But now, when you want to cross-correlate this data with radiological MRI data that's sitting on your private repositories, that's where things get interesting. And we want to cross over the data to give you an answer where we can look both the MRI images and also the articles that have been published and give you a final answer. And then the third thing we want to do as well is, like, let's say if I'm a healthcare provider, I also have patient reports. I want to find, okay, how about this data that I've collected in the past in terms of radiology scans and the scientific data cross-correlated with my patient records. And apparently the system here realizes that we don't have this data yet uploaded, so we drag and drop and upload. And now we have the patient records, we have the MRI scans, and also the scientific articles, and we can come up with a draft and answer the condition across all the three different data modalities and get you an answer. But not only, I love to use like the imagination, not only this is possible on scientific or let's say medical healthcare data, but we can connect to any types of like structured and non-structured data sets, including, let's say you're on product and growth and marketing, you want to connect all your data together and get insights for deciding, okay, which customers are churning, which customers we should ping them, which customers we should upsell the product, and so on. So I think this is like the coming up with the more enterprise-ready search. Like search has been there for order of 30 years. There's nothing that's big new that's happening here. I think one of the key things that has shifted is the capabilities that we introduced with Deep Lake on the open source side. I'll give you like the big, small, quick tech, what's happening behind the scenes. I think the Deep Lake, which is our open source software, you can go and check it out, contribute, start and download. We already had about, I think this is like these numbers slightly later, we have about 3.2 million downloads. We have about 8,300 GitHub stars and about more than 3,000 other GitHub projects, depending on Deep Lake. And technically speaking, this is the most popular data lake on GitHub. But not only on the open source side, we have Fortune 500 customers using this in production and deploying from managing their, like the Matterport is using for the 3D indoor visualization, from there to do radiological imaging data, Flagship working on scientific articles. We also like very good partnership with RC.ai on enabling the vector search and retrieval augmented use cases. And then I think one of the key things that is like slightly exciting is having the cost efficiency gains. And one of the things is, like, I'll give you a very brief story of databases. Like, it started from Oracle days when like we needed to have a database. It was like, okay, how we can do it? We start keeping everything in memory. And then people figured out, okay, as the data grows, like keeping everything in his memory very expensive, how we can offload this to local disk, like think of the folders you have on your computer, and it reduced the cost by 70%. Then there's data warehouses came in, like because of social networks, there's so much data came in. We thought, okay, how about we actually isolate the storage from the compute, put the storage on top of an object storage like Azure Data Lake Gen 2 or blob storage, and then have the query engine running on compute and then shutting it down when you don't need this. This reduced further the cost by 5 times. But then can we actually bring this index, which is this key part of the database, that can run the queries very fast on top of the object storage as well? And that's what we made it possible with Deep Lake version 4, which 10 times much faster ingestion, running queries under a second on 250 million rows, and with very fast streaming, faster than you will watch movies from the storage to the compute layer. With all this multimodal, simple, and no cache and nothing and concurrent. I bragged about the technology piece, but then you might ask, okay, so what? Like, why do we need this? And I think what happened recently, this is very interesting, is that what's happening with the AI search. Thanks to LLMs and this ChatGPT stuff, is there's a dent in the technology space. Like Google was heading the search space for more than 20 years, like as a monopoly. But thanks to the AI, there's like made it possible to actually have the same capabilities as Google has, and I'll show you how. So first, like a very simple search is like this lexical search. You type keywords, you get answers, top 10 links, and then you get back and get results. Then the vector search capabilities, as I mentioned, they became so much better that you can now run a vector search, get the top 10 links, and then combine this with a language model and get a summary answer. What's I think happening, as you saw with the recent releases with O1, with DeepSeek R1, we can have another hour conversations on this topic. And iterations, is those models became so good, they can do these agentic iterations and get back the result with like using tools like text to SQL. But I think where all this is going towards to is connecting everything end to end and making this is like a neural search possible. Think of the self-driving cars when they started just with perception part and the planning part kind of manually feature engineered. Then computer vision became so good that perception get replaced with convolutional neural networks. And then the planning became so good that it got replaced with neural networks. And then this whole system got replaced end to end with now like Tesla or Waymo, they're like almost end to end running neural search. What it relates to AI piece is this, like everyone knows about this, what is RAG? I've seen a couple of shows before you already talked about, like explain what's retrieval augmented generation, but it's super simple. It's just a fancy name for enterprise search with LLMs. I'll not get into technical details how this works. But the thing is, like, if you ask yourself, hey, I want to build Google, like the search engine, or Bing, like yourself, what it will take. And there's Mario Fisher, who actually went and reverse mapped, engineered everything, how Google works from all this like blog post legal cases where they like shared simple bits where like how each part of the Google search engine works. And you can see it's a super complicated system. It starts from the scraper, it has the index here, it has the image storage. And then when you run a search, it brings you 1,000 results and you have this bunch of rerunkers that kind of rerun the data and bring it back. And you get this top 10 links. But it's a highly manually feature engineered, cost them billions of dollars to build, and only like few companies can do this. But what is different today is that all this like technically can get replaced with end-to-end neural search that I was like mentioning, and making it cost efficient thanks to, I think the pieces of our side is like making that, like moving the index into on object storage and running across different modalities. This is the demo that I've just shared. And deploying this onto your own data on your private, secure on-premise infrastructure and deploy it. If there are 3 things I love you to remember is that we are multimodal, 10 times efficient, and AI search ready. This is the spiel. Let me know if any questions. We can just get into more interesting stuff as well.
Yeah, and actually we do have one question. Someone is saying, great demo. So does Activeloop multimodality differ from other vendors? If so, how?
Totally. So you have all these like vector databases. They come and claim is like, hey, we gonna we can search across images, we can search across videos. But what's happening and what is different behind the scenes is they just take these images, vectorize them, put it into an index, and they can run the vector search. What Activeloop is doing very differently is that we store the images along the vectors, along the videos, and we can like not only store, but you can also pre-process and process this when you retrieve this data. Furthermore, there's recent technological advancements on this so-called visual language modeling side, where Now, instead of storing a single vector per each, let's say, image or a video, you now can store a bag of embeddings or bag of vectors. And what this enables is to have much denser representation of the data to be able to run search. Now, where this is useful is the following. You had like last 20 years dominated by OCR pipelines. Let's say you take a PDF, you go through an OCR pipeline, you extract the text, and then you give it this to a vector search to be able to run the search. And it's like a manually feature engineered process. And once you get a new type of file, let's say an invoice that you haven't like prepared for, this whole system breaks. You have to go and manually change. What we can do now is we can take this same PDFs, take the images, give this to a visual language model. Instead of storing the vector, we store one layer before, at least 10 like token level vectors in Deep Lake. And then with this called CallPoly that happened like published about 6 months ago. And then run this code. So instead of similarity search, you run this Maxim search, which is so-called late interaction. And now you can search across the PDFs as good as if you run the OCR pipeline. But now on the figures and images and like all this kind of multimodal piece that comes even inside a PDF, your search is much better than an OCR pipeline itself. And we know that these visual language models gonna get only better and gonna get much better. Than we will no longer need an OCR pipeline. And that's how Deep Lake is unique, is that you can store all this complex data, including n-dimensional arrays, and then run searchable. Hope this answers, and the question is not too technical and deep dive, and you didn't get bored with that.
No, great question and great answer. I feel like we are having a lecture here, which is very helpful because there is a lot of people that are new to the field or startup founders that are not as technical in getting an overview and how things are evolving and how Activeloop is working and how it is different. The technology behind it's very helpful. And talking about startups and being a founder, one of the things that I hear a lot is from the founders is like, we go through so many challenges and then we have to overcome challenges pretty much on a daily basis. If you think about like this past several years that Activeloop has been around, what are some of the key challenges that you, other than the Y Combinator, that was a big challenge, like with the interview and benchmarking, but what are other challenges that I can think of that you have to overcome, and how did you overcome them?
Look,
maybe it was funding, maybe, there are so many.
There's like, it's a life and death issue. It's like one day you wake up, you're on top of the world, everything is so exciting. Next day you wake up, it's like everything is so bad, everything is very, very like everything's crashing. And the thing is like one day nothing seriously changed. It's like the same. It's like everything is happening so fast. So and like yes, YC and so on, like we had really like positive challenges, I would call them, but they also like negative challenges as well happened. Like for example, and unfortunately, like one of the biggest risks in companies is that like founders split or leave. I was very fortunate, like I had really good co-founders, and they unfortunately they left the company very early days, like the first year. So like the first year we run so many iterations and it was a big struggle. So there's like, even though we were fortunate enough to be funded, we like had good, I think good, and also like good investors, good team members and so on. There's like the early day iteration cycle was very harsh and we were like struggling to figure out what to do next. Then another problem is like, yes, subsequent fundraising. COVID happened, building the team in this remote setting where we had team members all over the world. We have never met in person yet. We had like, I think we have one of our early engineers who, early founding engineers who wrote Deep Lake early days. I've never met him yet in person. He already no longer worked with us. He started his own company, Hub Enough. So, but he worked with us like, I think more than 3 years. He came, he saw other team members as well. Unfortunately, we haven't met each other yet. And we're still like very, very good friends. So I think there's so many things happens during those years. And one of the key, I think, the founder traits that I have seen and YC as well has seen that is key to the survival is the resilience. So it's like, it's super challenging. It's like it takes 10 years to have an overnight success, and we are still working on a lot of challenges to solve to scale.
Awesome. And then another interesting thing is that we mentioned, of course, and we are here on the Microsoft Reactor channel, is the partnership with Microsoft. Other than what I mentioned, the Founders Hub, which is a place where startups can come and apply for credits, benefits, one-on-one guidance from experts. Tell us a little bit about this partnership and how did this help you all like scale, grow, and go to the next level?
Yeah, so first of all, super thankful to Microsoft, especially to Microsoft Startups for AI team and Pegasus Tech. I think the kind of the accelerated program we are part of as well, including Rob Ferguson, Derek who's working with us every day, and Sally as well, and you as well, Gabriela. Thanks a lot for having us here. I think one of the key things that I have seen as well as the key to the partnerships and starting that early. We had many successful partnerships with large organizations, including like Intel, we being in the Disruptor program itself. And it's like one of the key survivals for when you do B2B enterprise, like you are a so tiny, small company, and it's very hard to get in front of the customers and especially doing this large scale deployments and so on. You need as much as help as possible and align yourself with key distribution channels. And I think the early days, at least, you have this misconception that, oh yeah, Microsoft doesn't like startups. They just like copy and move forward. You have heard all this like bad stories from 20 years ago and so on. But apparently, I think this is no longer, this is no longer the case. This hasn't been the case, at least for us. And like Microsoft from the cloud providers has been one of the most helpful to us and helping us to both customer introductions, getting us Azure credits, helping us with going to the conferences. I think with healthcare and life science, this has been the case. Like 2 weeks ago, we were at JPM 2025, which is one of the biggest this elite conferences in healthcare and life sciences. In 2 months, we will be at HIMSS at Microsoft booth presenting Activeloop. So I think the partnerships are so critical, and Microsoft has done an amazing work, especially to tiny startups like Activeloop, to help us to get off the ground, be in front of the customers, put this on AWS and Azure as well, on marketplaces as well, and get this like channeled. So far, super thankful. And we also do have shared like Fortune 500, really large medtech customer, and working with them every day to make sure that we solve the customer problem. Is not just having like cool demos and cool POCs, but actually doing the work and creating value. And this has been super important for us, and we are very thankful for it.
That's great to hear. And that's one of the goals that I have, is like to bring more awareness about the Microsoft for Startup programs that we have. We have so many different programs. You all usually starts with the credits, and you build on top of Azure. You can use the APIs if you are using AI, but there is also the whole infrastructure. You are building your whole infrastructure on top of like something, and that's where we can come in as well. And opportunities as small startups, you don't have a variety of customers. It's very hard to get customers and to be in front of the customers. And one of the things that we do is like facilitating this connection with customers, also like being on the marketplace, and the exposure opportunity, which is huge. Like you being on stage, on Microsoft stage, or being in a booth with Microsoft is huge for a small company. And that's the things that we don't talk as much, like people don't know, but we do that very often with the startups that are in the programs. And you are the CEO of the company, right? And I'm curious, like, how is the company structured right now? Do you have like a more like general hierarchy, or like you have like different roles? How is the company structured? Like, it's more like engineering, but do you have sales, or like how is the company structured?
Yeah, so we are about 20 people, very small. We have offices in Mountain View, California, and in Yerevan, in Armenia. We have almost a flat hierarchy. So technically, everyone reports to me, and then we also have the one person heading the growth and marketing, Mikhail. He's the one-man show. Like, he organized the conference 3 months ago, our own conference, first time. We got about 250 people, where Microsoft as well was a sponsor to the event. And then he's like, he's great. We also have our head of COO, where basically she's heading all the operations. Technically, everyone is reporting to her, not to me. But like we are so like we don't really much care about the titles and the hierarchy itself. I think at this scale is like so important to create value to the customers and solve the problems that they are facing. And then we have a very strong, I think it's a very cool to say, this cracked team of engineers that are working like day and night to ship both Deep Lake and the Activeloop's new product on multimodal AI search to our current customers, and then growing. And then on the sales side is like a founder-led sales. So we have done another mistake, if this is helpful for startups as well. We hired and unfortunately fired sales people, and one of the key learnings is that until you yourself figure this out, like there's no way anyone else can take over. And I'm still like leading. I was the early days. I was thinking, oh, I'll just create the tech and then things will work out on its own, and that never happens. Last, I think, weekend we were at YCA founder retreat, and one of the key things is like, even if you have, I think Sam Altman came in as well, and then even if you have the AGI today, let's say, it will take 5 to 10 years to do the plumbing work. And the plumbing is not only just connecting the data to the models and make the like workflows and like they can automate it, or you put this agentic software and then it does the magic, but also convincing the people that this is important, this brings value, there's an ROI, making sure that everyone is aligned. This is not just replacing the jobs. This is like really making the organization way more efficient. And going through these hurdles is like the key challenges that you as a technical founder, that's why you need a business founder, like, yes, to help to deal with all these issues. Otherwise, you as a tech founder, you have to learn this yourself, and it's very painful. It's a totally different game than knowing how to code well, knowing all the cutting edge research that has been happening, and then to go over this. So yeah, and then we are in the early days of them building the sales and go to market. So, and our investors as well are helping us out. So if you're interested in joining Activeloop, feel free to ping me or apply, and we'll love to look into it, like a founding account executive or sales. That will be a good outcome.
And by the way, I was looking at the website because I'm always interested in companies that are hiring, and then I saw, other than the roles that you are mentioning, but there are other roles open at this moment. There are some Python and AI research or search.
Yeah, so instead of AI research, it's AI search. That's the key thing. There's like classical traditional search engine people, which I admire, and they're awesome. There's also like a lot of AI researchers, but we are looking for this like overlap of this, both using cutting edge deep learning techniques on top of like innovating on search. And that's where we call this position AI search engineer. If you feel you're one of them, or you're like super excited and you like can build this superpower next 10,000 hours, definitely apply. We're also looking for Python backend engineers to help us build and maintain the pipelines and deployments of those models onto the cloud. So, and engineering front, love you to look forward to work with us.
Awesome, great. And because we're talking about teams and hiring and learns, there is another piece that I was also, again, surprised to see. And then I saw a lot of people that already took the courses. You have courses that are free for people to take. I don't know how many, but there are like 5 or more than 5. There are some courses that you offer on the website. That's correct?
Yes. So what happened is that when ChatGPT came out, and we were like, okay, what we can do here is there's so many different frameworks to build this agentic workflows and retrieval augmented generation. He said, how about we build a course, but instead of having this course to be like this print hello world style course, let's take real world use cases and make useful course for people to get started. Because I have also myself learned that if you're just learning for the sake of learning, it never happens. But if you take something that you really want to build and then do the learning while you're building, that's the best type of a learning you can do. And that was the inspiration. We collaborated with Intel and Towards AI to make this happen. And we pushed, I think, 4 or 5, and then there's a 6th one is coming as well, specialized for healthcare and medicine. And we got an order of 50,000 signups. And those are like, once you finish the course, you also get certification. So we have order of, I think, 1,000 people got certified Gen AI 360 course. And I think that a lot of people, I go to different conferences, people even less know about us on Activeloop and Deep Lake, and they think we are like an educational edutech company. And like, oh, you are the course people. It's like, yes. So I think that's one. And then that's one of our like head of marketing growth. He initiated all this operations to make that courses go live, and still working on it and improving. And the thing is that the technology is shifting so fast that the course in a year got outdated. So we had to go and upgrade all the code to make sure that it can run and still running and still like changing every day. So we're also looking for contributors to the course. If you can help us maintain to make it cutting edge, we'd love to help us out.
Yeah, I have it in front of me actually, and it is like I'm just going to say I shared the link on the chat, but you talk about open source models like Copoly, Cobert, Meta Llama. You talk about RAG. You talk about Graph RAG, and talk about Raft, which is something that I see more people talking about these days. You talk about LangChain, very buzzwords, Llama Index, train fine-tune LLMs for production. So I was very surprised. And you know, like how I found out, other than like going through the website, because I went to LinkedIn and I searched for Activeloop. And then the thing that you were saying, I saw a lot of people sharing the certification. And then I'm like, is that the same company? And then I'm like, yes, it is the same company. So Activeloop is also like providing resources for learners on how to do things, not only being like let's say consuming content, but like doing stuff, which is the best way for us to learn. So we have the link on the chat as well. And we talk about like AI databases a lot, of course, today. And where do you see like this in the whole AI, not only the models and DeepSeek and other models, but like how do you see this coming? What is next? Is this going to be all about AI agents, or we are not there yet? Like, what do you see for the future? I would say for the near future of AI, and then also like I want to talk about a little bit about the roadmap for Activeloop.
So there's good and bad news at the same time. Things changed last week again. So the space of this moving so fast that things are changing every week, which is exciting. And if you're on top, that's like you need to just catch a wave and then surf on top. But I think that one of the key things that is like changed for everyone as well, that at this moment of time, cards reshuffled, the model layer is commoditized. Everyone has access to O1 or GPT-4o level of reasoning, open source, and or in a very cost-efficient manner. Things are just getting started. So if you haven't got into AI, it's not, don't think that it's late. Like it's just in the early, like this exponential curve. I think what happened last few months is that OpenAI and then a few other labs as well, including DeepSeek, realized that you can do this inference time scaling, which increases the reasoning capabilities of language models, solving really hard, challenging tasks using reinforcement learning. And this technique hasn't been used. This is the same technique that has been used for playing Go or chess much better than humans, but it has been very hard to figure out how to apply this to language models. And this has been figured out but not only figured out, but also open sourced. So you as a startup, as a person, as an engineer, non-engineer has access to this technology. And what is missing is actually taking this and applying not only to math and coding, but also to every useful aspect of our workflows and automation that can be taken. So I think by end of this year, this agentic workflows is going to be solved. So we will have really strong enough models that will solve end-to-end problems. That will take some time to do the reasoning piece and like to use the tools and then bring an answer or a connection to finalize the automation. But end of this year, it will be solved. I think another key trend that we have seen, and I think this has been mentioned across all the big labs, that the computer use, that language models are going to be so good that they will use your computer as good as you. I think the end of this will be released, I think, in a few months. But end of next year, it will be superhuman good. Plus, another key thing that happened as well last few months is that the distillation process of taking really large model like O3 and making it like O3 mini or the small ones surprisingly work very well. And then that means that on your mobile phones, they will be slightly fragile on newer tasks, but on the existing tasks they have been trained on, you'll have on your mobile device an AGI level of model that will be super, super good, and it will be everywhere. So I think there was a big hit on the market last Monday on thinking, oh, we no longer need GPUs. It just takes us $5 million to train these really large models. Apparently, that's not the case. We now need way more GPUs, because now instead of just having one or two labs having access to this intelligence, every one of us are going to have this access, and hopefully things will remain in the open source world, and we'll have this technology available for building much better apps. And the only beneficiaries are the application layer, and I believe most of the startups have to build, if you're not only already building these app layers. So I think things are so exciting, and so there's so many opportunities in the land that was like, just go and like just do things and ship and get things working, and don't worry about building yourself the models. They are there, they're good enough to get you started, and they will just get better with agentic workflows like being solved in future. With regards to Activeloop, is we are super focused on making retrieval highly accurate. One of the key challenges that we have heard from our customers and across the board is that the accuracy is still a problem. So just vector search plus LLM is not enough. You really need to rethink on how this search is working on your end or your own enterprise data, where the data can be more than on 10 or hundreds of different data silos, and crossing this over and bringing to the customer. We are super excited. We are launching next month this multimodal AI search on your own data that you can connect from different data sources. I think I just showed you as well, so that anyone can do this. And more importantly, it will take us some time to do the reasoning or thinking process, but can we bring really highly accurate answers instead of like getting this instant dopamine style answers? Like, let's just give it some time to do all the reasoning and verification of the data, collect all the necessary evidences, and give you a summary of the answer. And that's where we think Activeloop will help these more analyst style use cases where you're fine to wait, but you really need like a high accurate answers to be provided. And this is not less about the consumer types of search and more focused on the inside enterprise AI search use cases.
Amazing.
Long answer to a short question.
No, not at all. Because I love long answers. Again, there is so much richness in your answer. And as you said, we don't know what is going to happen. It's hard to predict what is coming, because something can happen tomorrow and then change everything. AI is evolving so fast as we never seen. And you touch on a point that is very important. We are in this catch-up mode. There is so much happening every day that is hard to catch up. But focus on like what everybody's doing instead of like trying to build something that is going to be maybe maybe not as stable, or not like, when you think about the startup, think about problems that you are trying to solve, think about customers, what are the pain points, and sometimes less the technology itself, because again, the technology is changing so fast. It's very hard to follow. But if you can find pain points, if you can find what are the problems that customers are having, are trying to solve, but they don't have a solution, that would be a great place for founders to go after. So Davit, we have 5 minutes left. Anything else that you want to share with the audience? Maybe contributions to the open source package, the Deep Lake, or the courses that you have available, or if we have customers watching here, how can they get in touch with Activeloop?
You can, first of all, I'll also be aligned as well with you. Thanks a lot, Gabriela, for this opportunity. Our customers can reach out to Activeloop. You can book a call with me. I'll have to jump on a call and learn about the challenges you are facing, especially on the data side, and see if I can be helpful. But I more than agree, like AI is not important. It's like, hey, what are the challenges you face? And AI is just a tool to be able to solve this. There's no this like I don't know, the self-consciousness that's gonna take over the world. I think that's like just super exaggerated. They're like really becoming such strong reasoners that they can automate and like do the reasoning piece and summarization much better than humans can do in some cases, and they can do it 24 hours. And we should leverage and utilize this to be able to create a world of, let's say this is a hypothetical one, like abundance. But I think more what it really mean is like solving those problems that haven't been unsolved in the past. And yeah, and then you better mention you can join Activeloop even from outside, contributing to our open source. Yeah, we'd love to see if we can be helpful to solve your data challenges. If you're a small company or a large one, doesn't really matter. We work with every, like from startups till Fortune 500 or 50 enterprises. And yeah, and then hopefully looking forward to see where this exciting field takes over. It's like every week is so many exciting things are happening, and there hasn't been much better time in the past to start your own company.
Thank you, Davit. Thank you so much for joining me today, and the audience. Thank you so much. So go to Activeloop. Go and find out what else they can do for you, for your company, other than all the great examples that David shared, the learning opportunity, the hiring piece. Connect with him on LinkedIn if you are on LinkedIn. And thank you again so much. And before we close today's show, I want to emphasize the program Microsoft for Startup Founders Hub, where you, a startup founder, or if you have a startup, you can build on Azure. You get up to 150,000 credits on Azure, plus 30 plus tools that we have and services that can help you. And then the other piece that I always mention is the one-on-one sessions with Microsoft experts that can help you through your business challenges or your technical challenges. So go to this AKA link or take a picture of this QR code. And the last one is remind you all that bi-weekly here Thursdays at 9 a.m. So every other Thursday, not every week, every other Thursday, I'm here with a startup founder from an AI company talking about the technology, the product, the challenges, the career journey, the path that they had. So hope to see you all in 2 weeks here at the same channel at Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel. Thank you, Davit, again, and I'll see you all next time.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks a lot for your time, and thanks, Gabriela, for having me as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thanks again to our speakers. Our session is a part of a series. To register for future shows and watch our past episodes on demand, you can follow the link on the screen or in the chat. We're always looking to improve our sessions and your experience. If you have any feedback for us, we'd love to hear what you have to say. You can find that link on the screen or in the chat. And we will see you at the next one.